You're in your apartment alone. Then you hear something. You think, was it just the storm? You realize you're not alone. Your living room is not safe with Unhinged, the new immersive game experience brought to you by Netflix. To make it out alive, you must answer the phone. The question is, when your phone rings, will you answer? Tap the banner to play Unhinged now, only on Netflix.
Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I was looking for fun ways to tell you that Mint's offer of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month is back. So I thought it would be fun if we made $15 bills. But it turns out that's very illegal. So there goes my big idea for the commercial. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan required. $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Greater than 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. See terms.
You don't have to tell people like, oh, I'm 5%, I'm 10% this or 25% that. If you are part of that culture and you experience it and you are proud of it, you can claim it because that's who you are, and you don't have to quantify it by saying, yeah, I'm only 30%, whatever, so it's very interesting.
Welcome back to the Ivory Tower Boiler Room. It's Andrew. I am so excited to let you all know that we are now in the top 40 best liberal arts podcasts list that got sent to me, and we're number 3. So thank you all for listening to the podcast, and I just really appreciate that you keep spreading the word. So please make sure you follow us on social media. Instagram is Ivory Tower Boiler Room, TikTok, Dr.Andrew, and please review us on Apple, Spotify. All of it helps. So I hope you just enjoy this episode. And as always, remember, there is an ad-free version on our Patreon. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Ivory Tower Boiler Room. It's Dr. Andrew Rimby with a really exciting conversation to end out Pride Month, which I always say here on the podcast, Pride Month is like nice to honor, but there's so many LGBTQ authors and like guests on the podcast. So it's always Pride here, but happy Pride Month, and hopefully everyone has a wonderful rest of their summer. So I'm so excited to talk about this novel, Beloved Disciples, written by Mario Elias, who, to give you a background, has a lot of different hats, from working on fiction to nonfiction to photography to visual arts. Is a multidisciplinary artist of Cuban and Syrian descent based in Chicago. We talked a lot already offline about the Cuban heritage and just Real Housewives of Miami, which maybe we'll get into some of that. Maybe not the housewives, but the Cuban aspect. So a lot of his work explores identity, memory, cultural inheritance, mostly through a queer lens. His art has been featured in Vogue, San Francisco Magazine. He's the founder of the Kinda Super Project, which is a really cool philanthropic, I was trying to say philanthropist, philanthropic initiative providing free photography and video services to underserved communities, which is really incredible. So, Beloved Disciples, congratulations, Mario, being compared to Andre Osmond's Call Me By Your Name, among, Douglas Stewart's Shuggie Bain. Amazing. So yeah, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks so much for having me, and to be a Pride finale guest. I'm so excited and honored. This is I've been following you for a while, so this is like an honor for me in general. But to be a good gay firework isn't a bad thing either.
Well, that means a lot, because like sometimes I forget that people are actually listening and watching. So I appreciate that. Podcasting can be kind of like solo, like isolating sometimes when you're after the conversations.
Oh my gosh, writing is the same. It's like I'm just like not even screaming into a void. It's just a silent act of just like writing by yourself all day, every day.
Yeah, well, so how long have you been writing fiction?
So this is actually my first, Beloved Disciples is my first like act of writing fiction in general. Before that, I had written a lot of nonfiction and art historical essays and things like that. So this book was my first attempt at writing. I'd never even written short stories or anything. Like the novel was my first attempt at making things up, I guess.
Yeah, you went right there. You're like, okay, I'm gonna just, hit the ball out of the park. And you did an amazing job. I mean, the narrative, just even this beginning with the nightclub and the Caribbean setting, the sounds, the sun, the sweat, the tears, I mean, everything all wrapped up in one. Like, knowing about your artist backgrounds, like I'm assuming like that really informed your descriptive language, like the way you're just envisioning the scenes, even in this nightclub scene that we're introduced to at the beginning at the Palomar.
Yeah, El Palomar. Yeah, yeah. I feel like I think I'm just a very sensory person. Like I think I don't know how other people experience the world, but the way I experience it is always very I don't know. I recognize smells. I like certain sounds trigger my. I'm also highly ADHD, so that might be part of it too. But the like I don't know. Just the I wanted to capture through Simon's lens. Kind of wanted to capture a little bit of how I experience the world, and a lot of his psychology is kind of my psychology and how I process things.
Mhm.
So yeah, so I tried to capture. I don't know, just like in a moment, what could be going on, and especially like in a scene like in El Palomar, where it's like this nightclub, well, it's like a basement that's turned into a nightclub, and there's like people dancing, and I don't know, I wanted to capture like the chaos of like a dance floor where salsa music's playing and everyone's booties are slamming into each other and people are spinning and you have to duck and I don't know this like um, kind of moment in time where like all this stuff is happening and at the same time this character is also falling in love. So it's just I try to capture the chaos of all of that in an accessible way, but I don't know how accessible
Yeah,
it
well, but
felt.
that's the
But
ideal nightclub. I mean, like my favorite like time going out with my husband and even before um being out with my husband was just dancing. Like there's like a rhythm and you capture that so well. Like my barber is like really into salsa dancing and like also does the merengue and like
yeah.
we'll explain that like all the bodies like become one. Like you can kind of just feel the rhythm. And I like
Mhm.
love that you bring us into that scene. Um with Simone and the way that he like sees Albie and like has that memory of like knowing him as a young boy. And I thought like it kind of reminded me like did you see Heated Rivalry?
Yeah,
Okay.
yes.
So it reminded me of that scene like when they lock eyes in the nightclub.
Oh
Um
yeah.
Even though I mean they've been having a lot of like sex before that. But um I like where did you kind of gain inspiration for like specifically knowing that you were going to have the love interests meet each other right away in the novel?
Yeah, so I actually moved this scene to the beginning because originally the first scene is I it ends up being the second chapter. What it is the second chapter now, where it's like there's this dead body in a bed, and like it's a kind of this like I don't know surrealist like still life of death.
Mhm.
And I just thought like there's that's not might not be the best way to like hook readers in for a debut novel. It's like this like macabre. I just really love gothic horror, and so I like try to like create this this Latin love story that also has these elements of gothic horror in the prose, like in the like actual writing of the prose, and so originally this first scene is a memory that comes later and so I kind of reworked it to put it in the beginning to have this moment where we get to see this beginning of love and then immediately after we see the aftermath of love which I don't think I'm getting it away because I think on the back of the book it says that Albi's dead already. So you see the beginning when they meet, and then you see immediately after this like kind of like car hits you where now Simon's by himself and Albi's gone. So I think that was kind of originally it was kind of sandwiched in between these like psychotic breaks that Simone has. And then I just felt like it would be more powerful leading that. And also you get a picture into their culture up front. So then that establishes Simone as somebody that you could know or that you have some idea of instead of this more abstract just like internal thought, which he I think ends up being quite a bit in the story, just as because he turns inward a lot to escape his day-to-day life. But this first scene is like him having this new life and getting out into the world in a new way. So I thought it was a kind of exciting
Yeah.
way to start it.
And like, say a little more. What is it about the Gothic genre that like really speaks to you? Like, are you talking more about like classic Gothic or like kind of what we were discussing about this new revolution in the horror kind of film
Yeah.
world?
Yeah, I like that we had good that like little conversation we had before about horror. Yeah, the it's more classic Gothic. I just love the like um I don't know the lush vocabulary, the like kind of Baroque descriptions of things and also the violence. Like Gothic horror just has so much violence that is just written beautifully, which um, I think I in this book I try to explore this idea of violence in a similar way of um, it's like another passion, just like love is or devotion. Like there's this passion behind it, and it's obviously a negative outlet to that passion. But there's like this other side of the love coin is this violence, and then on the other side is the tenderness. So I tried to like weave those together in a way that felt gothic horror-y, but it's because essentially I guess the book is kind of a ghost story, so it does fit into the genre in some way, but not in any really standard or expected way.
Yeah, and it's so interesting how um the passion of like a climax, uh, you know, could also that kind of feeling or emotion, like how close is that to like people being turned on by violence or being turned
Totally.
on by, you know, BDSM kink or any kind of like, like
Exactly.
even when we were talking about heated rivalry or so many um queer films and TV shows, they play a lot with that. Like Brokeback Mountain's a good example, like that
Exactly.
anger and like
Yeah.
wanting to punch each other, but then they end up making out.
Yeah. And there's like this like personal restraint before the sexual interaction. And then there's like physical restraint of the other person. I don't know. There's this it's a very I think it's not the first thing you think of when you think of love or tenderness, but the violence or the physicality of overpowering somebody, or I don't know. I feel like it is very sexual in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, and we even have the phrase hate sex, like
yeah, exactly. Or
to
chunky
like
daddy, you
describe
know?
that kind of
Yeah.
like up and down roller coaster that some couples really um thrive on. I mean, maybe that's
Yeah,
very
some people do.
also chaotic
It is.
as well. I don't know if that's healthy. I'm not sure.
No,
I'm not a
it's not.
therapist.
I,
So,
I worked at I worked at I bartended for like 10 years. I worked at a gay bar in Chicago, and shout out to Roscoe's. And we I just like had working there, you just meet so many new couples and you see people get into new couples and you see older couples and you see like kind of like from behind the bar, you see these stories play out in front of you. And I just remember watching in real time some of like you said, these chaotic pairings that are like fueled by passion and fire and how they kind of like either explode or fizzle out or whatever happens to them. But it's true. It's just either way, it's pure chaos, I think.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you must have seen so many different interactions. I mean, did any of those like interactions as a like bartender in a gay um was it a nightclub?
Yeah, it's a nightclub and like neighborhood bar.
Mm,
And we had like it's now they do the like famous RuPaul's Drag Race viewing parties
okay.
every Friday, and they're like always on YouTube and stuff. But before it was like there was like the only club on the strip, one of the only clubs on the strip that had a dance floor and like an upfront area that people could just like kind of hang out. Now it's a little different because they have like year-round food service, so the speed of the bar has changed. But when I was there, it was very much like on the weekends it was nightclub, and on the weekdays it was like your neighborhood bars. There's karaoke and stuff. It's a really special space.
Yeah, yeah. And like, did any of those memories serve you for like thinking through um the dynamics in your novel?
Oh yeah, I just think there's so many. I think working service anywhere, you get this glimpse into how people treat people, how people um, interact when they're uncomfortable, how people on a first date, like you see so many first dates, right? Like, and they're all like, there's some cute ones and there's some really awkward ones. So I think just working in service for so long, you see so many different types of people interact with different types of people. So I think, yeah, I'm just an observant person too. So I kind of like file things in my head, like, or someone says something batshit crazy, I'll think like, oh, I need to remember that. Like, and I'll like write it in my notes app or something.
Yeah, yeah. And like what was it about the Caribbean setting that really spoke to you? Like, say, instead of like setting it in, we had talked about South Florida or setting it in
Mhm.
somewhere in the States.
Yeah, so I wanted to have the culture in the book be very much an homage to my family, and so I wanted to include like all of my um all like there's a lot of food in the book. There's a lot of descriptions of food. There's a lot of um like nods to music, and so there's all these nods. And I have a very diverse family, but I really grew up only with the Cuban side in my day-to-day life. So that was really my world growing up, was just Cuban people and what they do and what they say and how they say things and the music and the food. And I wanted to base the story in the Caribbean, and I didn't want it to be explicitly in Cuba either, because I grew up with a lot of my uncles are Mexican, or and I have a lot of family that's from Puerto Rico, and so I wanted to like incorporate them into this as well, and I didn't want to exclude any references that might be at. So I wanted it to be kind of vague, but then really the city that Simon lives in is based off of Matanzas, which is where my family's from in Cuba. And so like the house is my grandfather's house, and which sits on top of this hill that like slopes down, and it's like this city on a bay. So I wanted to, I don't know, it's kind of, I don't want to say it's a love letter to my family because it is a sad story and kind of like morose in a way, but in the construction of it and in the my heart that I put into it, it very much is like just a love letter to like my family, who I just am very grateful for and just care a lot about. And also it's just my point of reference too. If I were to write a story about like, I could never write a story about the football player that like like heated rivalry. I could never write a story that um, specific to a culture that I have no idea of, unless I did a lot of research, I suppose. But yeah, it's just it was just an easy way for me to create this world, like do world building that's based on this world that I have already lived, I guess.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah. And
Yeah,
that authenticity is, yeah, I think really important. I mean, not saying that you can't write really layered, female characters, or I
that's
mean that
true.
like um uh is like a controversial thing that sometimes like gets asked, which is like,
It's
can
true.
someone who's not, you know, such and such gender or such and such race,
Mhm.
write those experiences? But like you said, there is a research component involved. I think
Totally.
specifically when it comes to like cultural identity. Um,
Hmm.
but like let's talk definitely about, I'm so curious with the queerness and the Latin and American community. I mean, it's such a layered question. It's like something that I asked Emmanuel Xavier when he came on about
Oh
his
yeah.
poetry and like his Nuyorican like voice in
Hmm.
it. But like growing up, like, take us back to your childhood. Um, what was your first like memories about like just your own desire and like your, interest
Mm.
in, the same sex? As we get closer to Pride Month, the Gay and Lesbian Review has a brand new magazine celebrating all things Pride in a special issue called Homo Literarius. So it's all about playing on that idea of homo and the Latin root, which the Latin word homo means person. So not just homosexuality, but how LGBT figures have celebrated one another, have read each other, the lovers that they've had who've also helped inspire their creativity. It is a really interesting issue that includes articles about James Baldwin in Turkey, the gays who kill genre. Think about Thomas Ripley or Hitchcock's Rope or Drew Droge's Messy White Gays. Christopher Street, a fellow LGBT magazine, just turned 50. So there's an article about how Christopher Street came to be. So much is in this issue, and I can't wait for you all to get your hands on it. You can read the digital issue, or you can get the print magazine. Head to glreview.org, use the promo code ITBRChoice for a free issue of the magazine, and I know you all are going to absolutely love it as much as I do.
Hello, I'm Max Rushton. The World Cup is back, and Football Weekly is going daily. If you want award-winning soccer coverage from a podcast that's been over-analysing the game for more than 20 years and still hasn't run out of opinions or just repeats the same ones over and over again, this is where you'll find it. We'll be producing 33 daily episodes across the tournament, breaking down all the action, the results, and of course, the drama. Can the US make it out of the group stage and into the spotlight on the biggest stage? World Cup Daily. Listen wherever you get your podcasts or watch full episodes on YouTube.
When it's time to scale your business, it's time for Shopify. Get everything you need to grow the way you want. Like, all the way. Stack more sales with the best converting checkout on the planet. Track your cha-chings from every channel, right in one spot. And turn real-time reporting into big-time opportunities. Take your business to a whole new level. Switch to Shopify. Start your free trial today.
People say this, but I have always known I am gay. Like I don't have any memories of like trying. I have memories of trying to act like I'm straight for other people and to like protect myself from other people. But I've always known that I'm gay. And I think maybe exposure. I'm also one of in my cohort of cousins, because there's just so many of us that there's like groupings. And in my grouping that's like this age range, I'm the youngest. And so I grew up with all of these older cousins that kind of, I grew up thinking like, oh, I'm the same as them. Like, and so like I grew up, I think, with references that were a little older than what should have been what I'm living with. And also my uncle like programmed hot boxes. And so he would like break into these cable boxes and like we did have all the channels. And there was a porn channel that was revealed when I was like 6. And I remember watching it and thinking like, they don't show these guys enough. Why do they keep cutting away from the guys? And it's like a traumatic experience, really, when you think about it, like a 6-year-old watching porn. But also I just have these distinct memories of these videos and being like, oh my God, they keep cutting away. I want to see this guy. And they kept cutting away. So that's probably another thing to unpack with my therapist. But yeah, I just have always had this kind of this knowledge that I was different. And I think growing up in a family that's so for example, on my mom's side, my grandparents are a biracial couple, black and white. And so and my grandmother, who was the white one, her family disowned her when she married my grandfather. So in my mom's family, they're only black. And then in my dad's family, that's the Cuban side. And like it's just and like so for the Cubans, I don't know, it's a very strange thing to like be of so many different worlds because you never fit into one fully. And so I always felt like I was different because of that. I knew I was different because of this other thing. And then kind of like masking how I act with this group and what I should say to this group. And really for everybody that I grew up with, I could fit in some ways, but then there was nobody that was gay in my family, out and gay. So that was the one thing that I knew I had to suppress. So I don't know. I feel like I always knew, but then I didn't come out. I mean, I still came out pretty early. I came out when I was 16. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's just like that's the only thing I've known.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's so interesting you bring that up about like when you were 6. I mean, like I even remember on HBO, there used to be like softcore things, and I would have the same like reaction. I'm like, where are the men? Like
Yeah, bring them back.
this is not exciting. But like I can definitely, relate. I mean, my whole heritage like is a whole mixture of European ancestry, but like even with that, there's like also the British, the Italian, the
Mm,
like um Hungarian, like Eastern European, like the Slovakian, and like there's like my mom's side, there's like a lot who are Protestant, and
mm.
like the WASP side of the family, I call them, like not in a negative way, but like they're very just um have certain kinds of like personalities that are much
Yeah,
more subdued, and like I'm definitely more um like a mix of my mom and my dad is definitely more like extroverted and
yeah,
opinionated. And I feel like my mom has started to really like become more opinionated because of being with my dad for so long. And it's just interesting because like I never like felt, oh yeah, I can like claim that I'm of that like British background
hmm,
or like that American Revolution background. And
totally.
yeah, but I do think it really like it helps shape you in such interesting ways to like just be very self-aware when it comes to like not just our identities, but like identities around us. Um
Totally.
and
I think
communities.
identity is, it's just so, I think it's so nuanced, especially from person to person. I think somebody recently said, I can't remember where I heard this, but they were like, "Oh, I have a hard time, just like you said, claiming anything because I am multiracial." And so, and someone in reply said, "You don't have to tell people like, oh, I'm 5%, I'm 10% this or 25% that. If you are part of that culture and you experience it and you are proud of it, you can claim it because that's who you are, and you don't have to quantify it by saying, yeah, I'm only 30%, whatever, you know." So it's
Yeah,
very
yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, no, I'm like that sometimes when like I'm in an Italian deli or a place. I'm like, well, I'm only not to I don't do this in every place, but like if I get into
Yeah.
a conversation, I used to be like, oh, I'm a quarter Italian. And then it's like
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like there's still some things that have shaped me that are like
Mhm.
Italian culture. Um, but yeah, you're right. Like we get to make our own decisions about like fitting into or just expressing what our narrative is around
Mhm.
our identity. Um, well, and like what I was so curious about with um the queerness in your novel is like, did you ever come up against like the fetishization, I guess, of like the Latin American community that can happen, like in the queer community,
Mhm.
like where there are like cases where white men are trying to like, fetishize um either like Latino men, men of color, etc.
Oh
Like,
yeah, all the time. And there's this which I hate, the where people would and it was I don't want to generalize, but typically from what I experienced or saw, it was like older white gay men would say things like, "Oh, you look exotic," or something like that, like the word exotic. Like, he's not a car. Like, it's, you can't, like, I don't know. It just gives me, it still gives me like goosebumps. It just makes me cringe a little bit. But yeah, I think, I don't know. I think in this country, especially, no, I guess pretty much any country, there's this racist undertones or ideals define a lot of our interactions, and they define a lot of our biases and all the things. And I think that that is worldwide, depending on from where you are, and who you interact with. But I think in the gay community, it's just so strange and so jarring because we all come from all these different places, and we've all been ostracized or marginalized or whatever. And so you think, I think we would all come together and just, it would just be this positive, like acceptance. We should accept each other, blah, blah, blah. And but then all these other biases come into play just because of how human psychology works. And so, yeah, especially working at the bar, you just see that all the time. and you'd like um I don't want to like say names or anything, but like or like terms like like oh yeah, like when men call themselves rice queens or when they're like Asian men. I just think it's so pervasive in the gay community when I don't know. I just feel like it shouldn't be. I feel like we should be past that. We should be in a more evolved place. But I guess sexual desire is also a little more animalistic than modern psychology allows to. I don't know.
That's true. Well, and it's like how backward even um porn categories could be.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Like everything is about like people are searching based on very specific
Yes.
like
Highly specific. Yeah.
fetishes. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and did you find that like you've already told me like your family was pretty open about like your coming out journey, you know, like was that something that you think was common, or like did your family have any like conversations with you um about being gay, specifically just knowing like about your Cuban background and knowing like that's not the experience for um like all queer Cuban people.
Totally. No, I was always very aware that that the way things played out for me is very rare. And to the point where when after I came out, a few of like I have a few other family members that have since come out, and like one of my aunts approached me and she was like, please talk to him, and I just want him to be gay like you, not gay like this other way. And I remember just thinking like, wow, like I also think for me, my case is unique in that I was very independent very early, and like in high school I always had at least two jobs, and I always took the time to like connect with all of the elders in my family and like take them flowers or call them. And
Mhm.
so I was very very involved in my family in a way that I think there was no option to disown me, which that's as that leaves my mouth, it sounds kind of crazy to say, but um I do feel that. I feel that like they knew my character, and so this thing didn't outweigh, which they might have had negative feelings about, but it didn't outweigh any of the gratitude they felt to me or love they felt to me. And it didn't weigh on them in a way that like a Southern Christian family would have this idea of the dogma and sin of homosexuality. Like that didn't weigh on them in any way, but they did have preconceived notions about like what a gay person is or what they do or how they sound or how they dress. And I guess the way I presented myself was digestible for them. Maybe that's what it was. This perfect storm of like, oh, we can accept him because of these things. Um, but yeah, I just know so many people that had the exact opposite story where they came out and they got kicked out that night, even like they came out and they were immediately escorted off the premises, and it's just, I don't know, I just feel forever grateful and just so aware of that privilege that I have of my family being so accepting. And like with Cubans, with a lot of like in a lot of Latino culture, there's this like the machismo and this like idea of what a man is, and
Mm.
I think I do fit that idea in many ways, much to my chagrin because I want to be like a sissy sassy, but and I am often, but I think this like idea of machismo and the kind of Catholicism, you know, like this, a lot of people are taught in much of Christianity that we're sinful, and it's not the person that's the sin, it's the act or whatever. Um,
Yeah, yeah. Hate the sin but love the sinner.
yeah, it's
That's
just
the
I don't
quote.
know,
Yeah.
it just doesn't make any sense. None of it makes sense, and so and I'm a very logical person, and I'm a very communicative person, and so I think my family just trusted that like that it would be fine, and so
Mm.
they were just unconditional about it. Um, but then when, like I said, when some of my other family members came out, they kind of wanted me to take them under their wing. And maybe that's my impression, but to make sure that they became the appropriate type of gay or had the appropriate type of expression, which I don't agree with that. I think everyone should express themselves however they want. And so when I talk to my cousin or whoever, and explained like and communicated like just be safe and just be honest with you can be honest with me, blah blah blah. I don't know. I just feel like it's such a everyone's situation is so different, and I think having the expectations of being gay and Cuban and having this family that I thought would be um, traditional in those ways, it was. I think I held myself back from coming out to a lot of them for a little while, and I also didn't give them enough credit in a way that they deserved, having known them my whole life. Um, but yeah, I think I just think that there's so many people that don't have that experience, so I'm constantly aware and grateful of my amazing family.
Yeah, well, and that Catholic background is so interesting because in your book, like, you know, both men met each other in the church. Like, or there's just so many memories with like Albie being an
Mhm.
altar boy and Simone as well. Like, why was it important for you to include that like Catholic experience? Why does anything exist? Why is there something rather than nothing? I think that's a question we all, as curious people, have asked ourselves. And let me tell you, Professor Stephen A. Simon's new book is so thought provoking that I can't wait for you all to pick it up. He provides his experience as a professor of political science and philosophy to explore that question with such a variety of perspectives from science, religion, philosophy, and even mathematics. He helps us understand.
Pay's checkout is offered by your banks and credit unions. So when you shop online at participating merchants, your cards appear in one place, ready to use and kept up to date. And the best part, your actual card number isn't shared when you check out because boundaries are healthy, like no work emails after 6. One small step for boundaries, one big leap for checkout. Pays. It checks out. Activation required. See Pays.com to learn more. Terms and conditions apply.
El martes 7 de julio, la espera termina. Operación Triunfo llega a Telemundo. Miles respondieron al llamado.
Este es mi destino.
Pero solo unos pocos llegarán a la Gala Cero.
Aquí todo el mundo está ready. Aquí hay nivel.
¿Quiénes serán los elegidos?
Me voy a ganar mi lugar en la Gala Cero.
Descúbrelo en el gran estreno de Operación Triunfo Estados Unidos. Martes 7 de julio por Telemundo y Peacock.
What could possibly explain the most fundamental fact of all, that anything exists? So you can get this from broadviewpress.com. The floodgates have opened with science fiction as a genre in my life because I owe this to my husband and I'm going to give him credit. He has really gotten me to think more about sci-fi, film, and literature. I have to say, Minority Report, absolutely amazing. And Alien, I mean, who doesn't love that alien coming out of that human body in the first film? So Professor Jason Haslam's new anthology provides a lot of exploration with all different short fiction, so many sci-fi authors, over 200 years, including sci-fi that explores indigenous futurism, feminist science fiction, Afrofuturism. Again, you can get this on broadviewpress.com. And last but not least, my upcoming episode with Professor Matthew James Vachinsky explores his book, which is Original Inquiry, A Guide to Research for Undergraduates, a great toolkit for all faculty out there who are just trying to find a book that helps their students understand how to collect research sources and then, right, the hardest part, build and organize their essay with all of these sources and to make a cohesive argument. I can't recommend Original Inquiry highly enough. So again, all 3 books can be found on broadviewpress.com. Use the promo code Ivory Tower for 20% off.
Yeah, so much of Latin culture is kind of centered on Catholicism in a lot of ways, in like the holidays or in even like greetings or like if I say to my grandmother like, okay, I'll see you tomorrow, and she'll say si Dios quiere, like if God wills it. Well, I'll see you, which she's saying yes, like I'll see you tomorrow, but in the way she says it is like this proclamation of faith or something. And so I think it was important for me in describing the culture and in creating this world, it was important for me to bring in that Catholicism, but then also the the two main storylines are with Simone and Albi, and then the other one's with Simone and his mother, who is this devout Catholic woman who did um, kind of, you know, turn on Simone when he came out. And so she was, Simone was devoted to Albi and she was devoted to her faith. And so I wanted to show these two sides, these two types of devotion, to then kind of map this kind of story of these like parallel devotions and how they kind of warp. So like with a lot of times people are devoted to their religion or their faith, and it changes um, how they perceive people or how they um, even treat people, and then it kind of like decays and it becomes this hateful thing of like, or this like alienating thing, you know, like a lot of Christians today have this idea that like, oh, I need to save these people, so I need to like push my faith onto them, which that was never the intention. Like you're supposed to have your faith and live it, and you know, treat people with kindness. You're not supposed to force anybody to do anything. Or like with helping the poor. I don't know. I just think that a lot of times devotion kind of decays into this obsession that has all these negative like ripples that come off of it. The same with love. I think love, when you become devoted to somebody, it can kind of there's this possibility of it being this healthy relationship, or you can kind of warp and change and become obsessed, and that has its own negative ripples, just like the religion. So I don't know. I just thought the playing with those two things that are in a lot of our lives every day, side by side, really kind of created this like vibration of, for me anyways, of like exploring this idea of what's the turning point of like being devoted and being healthily devoted, and then losing yourself in that process.
Yeah, and I mean, there's so many interesting, like narratives right now, I feel, that are exploring. I mean, do you know of, I want to make sure I look it up to get it right, but it's the Queer Colombian book that just came out by Julian Delgado Lopera.
Yes. Oh.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So like I just got it from the library and I can't wait to read it. But Pretend You're Dead and I Carry You.
And I Carry You. Yeah. So
yeah.
talented. Oh my gosh. Talk about like just a singular voice.
Yeah.
Just so talented.
Yeah, and like I have a friend who's Colombian, so like we're gonna read it, and he's like, we talk a lot about that idea of, I mean, he's straight, but like that idea of machismo, and like, you know, even he's said about you know, with homophobia in the Latin community, it really just depends, like you've said, on a lot of it is like deprogramming from having certain views about sexuality and religion. And like usually they're also, if they're homophobic, they're also like not very empowered when it comes to talk about sex at all.
Totally.
Like,
yeah.
And like they just fall into these traditional models of like what a man does and what a woman does.
Totally. Yeah. And even this like archaic idea, like you said, of what a man does and what a woman does. And they silo themselves even in social interaction. So then like they'll only talk to men, and they'll only like they only respect men. They only like ask men questions. They don't care about what the woman has to say. And I think that happens in most cultures, but unfortunately. But yeah, it's it's just like this like infection. Like machismo is just so lame. I just think it's so silly. Toxic. It's just like clownish. Yeah.
Well, like even when you're talking about this, like the longing, I mean, you know, are there like certain books or texts that you look to that like you're inspired by, or just like kind of, you know, you admire when it comes to like exploring longing, and that, you know, just really multi-layered theme that happens in your novel?
Yeah, I was kind of nervous about releasing this book because I enjoy a lot of older literature, and it is and so this is not a beach read. I'm highly aware that this isn't a beach read, and so I was a little nervous because I feel like people like this like faster clip and this like these like plot beats to happen, and that's just not the kind of book that I enjoy reading. And I wouldn't, I don't think I would have been as successful writing a book that did have that format. But all the books that I do love are these books with longing and like um unexpressed desire and like internal like revelations and things like that. And so like The Charioteer or A Single Man or these kind of
Oh,
like I don't know, I think it's like the 1950s era of literature, or even just think like of and someone who read the book, one of my dear friends, Jack, he said, "Oh, did you look to Giovanni's room for like
yeah.
inspiration on this part or that part?" And I hadn't, but I mean I've read that book several times, so I think you internalize kind of these structures of like uh like the long game of longing or whatever. And because I really do love that. I love this idea of wanting something um and the adventure to get it, not so much the like you get it and then what kind of thing. So yeah, so definitely a lot of this like older literature, and I know like now with Heated Rivalry or Red, White, and Royal Blue, there are a lot more um, queer stories that are accessible to everybody, which is amazing, and those are amazing books in their own right too. But um, I don't know, I wanted to write a story that was like authentic to me and what I love about literature. And yeah,
Well,
it is
that
all that
it
longing
makes
stuff.
sense. Yeah, because your book is so philosophically meditative about these themes. And like what I love so much about like the books you've mentioned, but like also Call Me by Your Name, like
Mhm.
are those pauses like you as a reader to really process desire. And like I'm glad you wait, The Charioteer, that's Mary Renault, right? Okay,
Yeah. Oh my
okay.
gosh.
Yeah.
One of my favorite books. It's just,
She
I,
needs to be
and
read more. I mean, I
yeah,
remember like in high school we read The King Must Die, but
yeah.
like it's the Minotaur retelling. Um, but I
She also
really
does like
love,
Alexander the Great. She has
yeah,
like
the Persian
the
Boy.
Persian Boy.
That
Yeah,
one's
she's so good.
fascinating.
Very
Um,
good.
yeah, but yeah, I think that those novels. I'm just about to read Go Tell It on the Mountain for a book club that I
Oh,
host. That's like our
it's
next book.
so
Yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah.
That's one of my favorite books. I just
I'm
included that. I did
excited.
a
I never read it,
oh,
so
oh, it's so good. He
yeah.
he's just such a I feel like if there was like a voice of the queer, not just the queer community, but like of like othered people, he's just so good at like storytelling, but also just like describing the way he describes um family dynamics, like
Mhm.
everything. He's just so
Well,
talented.
Another
He's
Country, I taught that
ah
before,
so
and
good.
the way that it's like just the race, sexuality. I mean,
Yeah.
politics. Yeah, I think um it's so interesting because James Baldwin is so like I think pretty well known, but I feel like a
Yeah.
lot of people know him more for nonfiction, like The
Yeah.
Fire Next Time, specifically
Yeah.
with the Black Lives Matter protests. Like that book was being talked about a lot. But
Which
I
is
feel like
good.
his
Yeah.
queer like race social discussions in his fiction
hmm
is even though Giovanni's Room, they're not men of color,
They're
which
not.
is
Yeah.
interesting
It
too
is.
to
Yeah.
look at. But yeah, I think like what you even do with thinking about like allowing the reader to really just gain more insight psychologically into these characters is such a breath of fresh air because not that I don't enjoy, like I think it's great that there's more amplification of like gay romance or men who love men kind of novels like Red, White, of Royal Blue and Heated Rivalry. But I also think like it's important to amplify um those that are like really complicated, messy. Like they're
Yeah.
not really complicated in the sense of like desire. They're kind of like they fall in love, it's sensual. They're gonna like marry each other, right? It's kind of
Yeah.
almost like they're happily ever after novels.
hmm
Um and what I like though of what you're doing is like you kind of really like just look at all um the layers. And
Yeah.
I think that we need like books like yours, and like I mean, so many I talked to. Like I just talked to Rasheen Newson,
Oh, also very
about
talented.
there's only one sin in Hollywood, and
Yeah.
like he does like that same. I mean, I call him like the contemporary James Baldwin voice,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's. I mean, what is it like for you to like talk about your work even to fellow writers or to like just those who are readers about like what you're doing in your book?
Yeah, I had a hard time at first just because I felt the imposter syndrome was weighed on me very heavily. Just because before this, I primarily was a visual artist and like in my day-to-day career, it is visual art. It wasn't writing. So I felt like, oh, am I playing in somebody's field and will they like resent me for that or will they like not value what I create because I don't have an MFA and I don't have these these networks that everybody else has. Um, so when I was at first, I was very scared, and then as I started putting myself out there and just thinking like, okay, I did this, and I'm very proud of it, and I want to share it. Everyone was just so nice, and everybody has been so welcoming. It just, I don't know. I feel like I've like it feels slow, but it's been very quick that I've like created this network now that I didn't have a year ago and that I didn't think I could ever build. So that part, like talking with other people in the industry and other writers, I did have this like crippling fear and just like feelings of inadequacy. Um, and then as I started doing book events with people that have read the book, um, with the readers, it's been blowing me away because people see so many things that like I like little references I put in or little nods to things that people pick up on. And also I'll get a message on Instagram or an email and they'll just be like, "Oh my gosh, I saw this thing and I just want to let you know that like I've never in literature felt represented in this way because like for example Simon's name is based off of the song El Gran Varón by Willy Colon, which is like about this it's a salsa song but it's like a sad gay story basically, and it was made in I think like late 70s early 80s maybe. So it was like this trailblazer of a song. And so I included, so just having his name be Simon and then the character Cocotazo, which is another reference that people have really liked. When she calls him her gran varón, like her great son, her great boy. Um, so just having people get those references and connect with the book, connect with like the mother son dynamic in a really beautiful way. Because I think one of the main goals for this book, I wanted to share my like myself and my culture, but then also I just really love like all the women in my life are just so strong, and so I kind of wanted throughout the story, there's all these like mother archetypes. So there's like the Simon's mother, and then there's like the chosen mother in Coco. There's the mother to be in oh wait, I don't want to give a spoiler, but there's a mother to be in
Yeah.
there. There's there's all these different mother archetypes and all these women that surround Simon throughout this story really save him in all these different ways. And so for people to see that and like I don't know connect because I feel like I was most successful in some of the interactions with Simon and these women in his life, and to see the readers' reactions to those characters has been really exciting for me.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, it's been such a pleasure, like, reading, but, following, what you're doing, um, in like all of your multi-hyphenate world, with your artwork too. And, I'm so excited for more people to get their hands on Beloved Disciples. And I
Me too.
forget, is there an audiobook also, Mario?
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I asked the publisher and they were saying something about the distributor, blah blah blah, but it is in the works. It's just
Oh,
not yet.
exciting.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay. So, thank you so much for joining me. I really had a good time here. And, where can everyone follow you on social media? If you have a website you want to plug, and just, make sure they get your hands on your novel.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This has been so exciting. So socials at Kinda Super Mario. That's KINDASUPERMARIO. And then my website is kindasuper.com. And that's also where you can find information about the Kinda Super project, which is my philanthropic initiative providing free photo and video services to underserved communities. So if you know of an organization or of an individual that needs any creative work, please go to my website and contact me, and I'd love to help. And yes, please buy my book.
Yes,
wherever books are sold.
Book.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, thank you, Mario, and happy End to Pride, and even more empowered LGBT 2026. Hopefully, we can turn things around in this country.
Oh my gosh. It's like I'm trying to be hopeful. And let's just end on that. I'm trying to be hopeful.
We'll be hopeful. Yeah, ending on hope. I like that. There you go. Thanks, Mario.
It was so nice to talk to you.